Sorry to gavel you there, Bobby.
As long as you don't throw it at him.
As long as I don't throw it at him, like, yep.
Is it purple? Did I not get the message?
I know.
Oh, I guess.
So rude, ladies.
We missed
Okay, we
that.
would have tried, we would have had to.
I didn't get the call either.
So we'd like to officially call this SMDA meeting to order at 4:33 p.m. We have all of our members present minus one, and we will first, if you can join me in standing up and saying the pledges, first to the U.S. flag, then the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and another. I trip over it. Me too.
All right, we will now move on to public comments. Tammy, do we have any public comments? No? Okay. I'd be surprised if we did. We will now move on to the regular agenda. Agenda item number A. We have an update from our financial advisor regarding Series 2024 Tax Increment Contract Revenue Bonds. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you, Mayor, board members, Joe Morrow, Hilltop Securities. It is come around to the time of year where we look at the increment produced out in South Manvel Development Authority. And this year, it looks like we have sized the issue to be approximately $3,370,000. The increment was impacted a little bit this year by a couple factors. One, and I'm not sure why this occurred, but from our certified value to the adjusted levy, it went down about $10 million. So that was a curiosity as to why, when the values are certified, we have everybody who's been through the protest process, and then they give us an estimate to add to that of where they think the values are going to end. And lots of times what they'll do is they'll give us their estimate, being that they lose everything and that it becomes the owner's claim of value. But not sure, but across the board on all of our entities, we lost about $10 million in value from that. And then we introduced this year from the city residential homestead exemption, which had not been on the tax roll earlier. So all those things led to a little bit of stall, if you will, in getting to the point that we had coverage. We'll be over that next year as the developer continues to build homes. It seems like he's mobilizing now as they're closing out the southern half of their development that was in Iowa Colony. And I did notice in the top 10 taxpayers for this year, we've got a lot more home builders. There were about 3 more home builders that made the top 10 roll than were on the 2023 tax roll. So it does, that just supports the fact that more builders are coming in and being active. So with our approximate size of $3,370,000, we're beginning to move forward. Today, we'll be presenting to you underwriters. We went out just as last year. I visited with our trading desk, and they gave me the names of 5 firms that have been active in the last year in bidding in non-rated transactions. So we sent out a proposal to all 5 of those firms. We've got 3 that responded. Happens that it's the same 3 that responded last year. So I'll run through that with you. I just made, they were due yesterday at noon to be sure that they had plenty of time to review and respond appropriately. And they did. I kind of just took these and ranked them. So the weighting that I put on them was the fee schedule would be worth 40 points, personnel experience 20, underwriting experience 20, and marketing insight 20. We asked, one of the questions that I asked them was to, provide any marketing ideas or anything in your experience. And then, of course, you have to lob out open-ended question and any other reason why we should consider you. So some of these were just completely qualitative in nature. So I just, based on my experience with the folks and kind of knowing the business and the size of these firms, it really gets down to the three that did respond. RBC is, the giant, if you will. They're all over the world. BOK, didn't respond, not BOK. Cruz and Associates, they're a regional firm. Their trading desk is in Oklahoma. They've got an office here in Texas in the Houston area that they have some bankers in. And then FMS Bond, they are a specialty firm. They're located in Florida. They do almost every single public improvement district issue that comes to market in the state of Texas. And they started that business in Florida, brought it into Texas. They're very good at what they do, and that is non-rated high-yield paper. If you'll recall, they had the books on your last transaction. Anyway, the way I ranked them has RBC, FMS, and then Cruz. If you turn to the next page, takedowns and expense schedule. Takedowns is how you, as an underwriter, pay your sales staff, right? The folks who are actually picking up the phone and finding your buyers. So they do that on a per bond basis, which is why I have the total takedown and then a takedown per bond. So if I sell, $1,000 worth of a bond, the takedown or money that would be available to be paid to the salesperson is represented there in that number. For RBC Capital Markets, it's $1,274. But you get the idea. Then the other costs are things that an underwriter has to do to get into the market. There's certain fees you have to pay, depository trust, you have to pay the Texas MAC. There's a number of fees that are just fixed. And then there's the biggest one that can swing everything is underwriters' counsel. Right, so they pay an attorney to represent them, review the documents, be sure that everything is, that their interests are protected. So because when I got to the expenses, unfortunately, I wasn't quite crystal clear on what I was asking for with the expenses, so I got a variety of answers. So what I did is I just said, okay, we're just going to make this the same for everybody. And I used FMS Bonds because they used underwriters counsel only. In RBC, they're $3,036,000 because they did the underwriting costs only, your other costs outside of counsel. So you can see the total spread there from just under 56,000 to 63.5 to 45.5 is how things worked out. The next page is basically a look at the people that they would be assigning to the deal. RBC, Chad Reynolds. Chad moved over to RBC from Raymond James after spending a number of years there. Leslie Cook and Chris Allen there. You can see the names, Cruz and Associate, Phil Martin and Spencer Curry years ago. They were in our shop, so I know both of those. In FMS bonds, Theodore Swinarski, who's their head underwriter, interesting, he had been with UBS, is where he started his career underwriting, then Will Baum. And Tripp, Jason, and Esther are the bankers that go out and look for underwritings that are located in Frisco, Texas. Real quickly, the way I ranked these, I believe we had FMS bonds in first. And when I looked at them and put things down, if they were ranked first, I gave them the full 20, and then I knocked 5 off as we went down. So that was, nothing special. I just had to figure out some way to award points. Marketing insight or underwriting experience, then, RBC just kind of owns the roost with that. They do, because they're a nationwide firm, they do a lot of non-rated transactions in Texas. They still do a number of non-rated transactions. FMS, like I said, they absolutely own the public improvement district in Texas. Nobody else seems to do any of that. And Cruz and Associates, they have been building their book. They're kind of new to doing this. So those were the 3 sheets. Then the tips that they put in, that was just something that I read through what they were talking about. Both RBC and FMS offered good insight. You could tell that it was written by some folks who had good experience in the markets. I think I maybe gave the edge on that to RBC. I can't remember, but those two were really close, which I think had it gone the other way, it still would have wound up with RBC top, FMS second, but they would have been just 5 points away. So that's how I came up ranking them. We need one underwriter for a deal this size, $3 million, $370. Two, they kind of get in the way of each other and don't have an incentive to work as hard. Just because the monetary benefit for them is not going to be there, and the amount of work that it takes from a compliance side, right? There is a lot of effort that has to go in to bring an issue to market. So just the incentive is there for a single firm to do it. I've got them ranked, so I would recommend RBC. However, that being said, we are still in the situation that we were a year ago, in that the comptroller came out with a list, and they said, we're not sure that these people comply with the new Texas laws that have been placed or passed about non-discrimination against guns and gun manufacturers, and also what's our other one?
Energy.
Energy, thank you. Energy, yes. How can I forget that Texas is big on energy? And so they've had this list out for over a year, and it's just kind of one of those things that it's hanging out there, but everybody's still, doing business. RBC is still doing business. So there's a lot of people scratching their head, and what we think has happened is that because Greg Abbott would take action if it was a clear-cut deal, but it's not clear-cut. Some of the things that I have heard back is you have issues like, and this could be true for RBC, I know it's true for another firm, that they have a mutual fund that invests in green energy. Well, the comptroller flagged that because, green energy is not oil and gas. So apparently you discriminate against that by offering individuals the opportunity to invest and promote green energy. Well, I don't know if it applies exactly to RBC, but I do know that RBC has an entire floor in Houston devoted to doing investment banking for oil and gas firms, mergers, acquisitions, those types of things. And that's just in Houston. I don't know if they do the same in Dallas or if that's handled out of Houston or the Permian Basin. But, that's, what we speculate is happening is that when the legislature convenes again, Abbott has probably already had the conversation saying, you got to clarify this because we don't have a clear enough direction from what you intend us to do to enforce this law. So my guess is that about this time next year, we may still be in the same boat, or there's been some clarification provided and the list gets cleared out. But that's where we are. I think RBC will do it. They're doing some business in Texas still, not as much as they did before the list came out, but I know that a year ago, the list had just come out and we were all kind of scratching our heads and not knowing, what should we do? It's a little bit more cloudy. It still could be that if there was some determination between now and when we would close in December, the AG has said, look, if something comes down, if you've sold but not delivered, you're okay. We're not going to stop your deal. And all it boils down to is that firm itself has to make a representation that in their point of view, they do not discriminate. So I need one. If y'all want to go with RBC, we can go with RBC. If you're uncomfortable with the fact that they remain on this list, I understand. And then I would say let's go with FMS. They did your bonds last time. They're more expensive in what they pay their folks, but these are non-rated deals, and that's part of being non-rated. So that's something that I'm looking for direction on, and then I'll talk about timing. And do y'all have any questions for me about underwriters or anything at all?
Yeah, what we'll do here, Joe, is we'll move on to agenda item number B, where we'll focus on the debt issuance first. And then agenda item number C is talking about the underwriting. So if the board's good with that, I'll have us move on to agenda item number B, and then we can open it up for questions or comments regarding the actual bond issuance. So to move on to agenda item number B, consideration possible action to authorize preparation of preliminary official statement for Series 2024 bonds and other actions related to the issuance of the bonds. So with everything that Joe covered in his presentation, are there any questions or comments from the board members? Joe, a question that I have, this 3.3, what would it have been if the 10 million in reduction in value and the homestead exemption wasn't applied?
We probably would have been between 6 and 7.
Okay. And is there an opportunity in future years to, in a sense, catch that up as values continue to increase in the area?
Well, certainly we'll gain more increment as values rise from here. But, one of the things we'll always have to factor in is that currently the exemption is capped at 20%. Y'all are at 10, right? So any year there could be a decision to increase that exemption, which, impacts what we do. But we can't go back and, the only way to capture back the exemption is to undo the exemption. That's never going to happen. Once it's in place, it's in place. So, it's just going to be a matter of the value being created. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Joe. So if there's no further questions, do I have a motion regarding this agenda item?
I make a motion to authorize preparation of the preliminary official statement for Series 2024 bonds.
We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Because you're technically a voting member, right?
Yes.
So, okay, cool. Just wanted to confirm
For
that.
this purpose, yes.
For this purpose. Awesome, thanks, Darcy. Agenda item number C, consideration and possible action to designate underwriting team. Are there any questions or comments from the board members as it relates to this agenda item? And Joe, who did we use in the 2023 bond?
That, as you recall, Mayor, was 17,100,000. We had FMS as our captain and Cruz as the crew member.
And
For
our,
the same reason, if I remember correctly, because the naughty list.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
Nicole?
I was just going to say, and RBC is the only one on that list out of the three, right?
Out of the three, yes, ma'am. RBC is the only one. It happens that the largest, like an RBC, which is Royal Bank of Canada, and they do operations all over the world, it's hard for them, just like a JP Morgan is on the list. It's hard for them.
Board members, I think, knowing that there might be some clarity coming for the list, I think we stick with the status quo of going with FMS. And then at that point, when the next bond issuance comes, if there's clarity regarding the list or RBC is off of the list, then it opens up additional options. Is there any opposition to that?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll make a motion to designate FMS bonds as the underwriting team. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
There you go. All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you. I didn't realize I was kind of running all over your agenda.
You're good. Can you, now that we've approved those two items, just briefly, Joe, can you talk about the timeline? What are we looking at next steps here?
Yes, thank you. 2 weeks from today, we will meet to approve the preliminary official statement and authorize its use in the offering of the bonds. And 2 weeks later, which I believe will be Wednesday, November 13th, we expect to be back here to actually sell the bonds. So we're 2 meetings and 4 weeks away from selling this, and then we would deliver the proceeds about a month from there. So in or about mid-December, the funds will be available to reimburse the developer.
Great. And one question, Joe, to take us back, the 3.37, what is the actual realized revenue, I guess we'll say, to the developer of that? Because I know there's fees and everything built into it.
Yeah, it's about a little over 2.5 million. We have to fund a reserve fund and then the costs of issuance that are involved. So it's, I think we were somewhere close to 2.6, but in that range. And when I was running this, I used a little bit of a higher interest rate. We'll see. Now that we have an underwriter, I can ask them to kind of take a look as we get a document to them and say, where do y'all see this? How do you see it playing out? And we can start to zero in a little bit more. But
Go ahead, Mercy.
Will we be using a trustee like we did on the other one, where we send the money to the trustee?
yes, for all issuances now going forward will be in the trustee format. So that's just a way that we sell bonds when you're a development authority like this.
And so the interest rate will not be locked in until after the election. Is that correct?
Yes,
Because there might be some volatility depending on which way it goes, and that's something to
That's correct. You are right. We will not know until the 13th.
Is there
In
any
fact,
way
they will go into the market probably the morning of the 13th, and we'll be, just like last time, kind of wrapping up and racing out here with, fresh ink.
Fantastic. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Agenda item number D, this is consideration and possible action to approve an agreement for auditing services with McGrath and Co. PLLC. Board members, do you guys have any questions or comments about that? We'll see. I don't want to have to make you walk up here if you don't need to with the broken leg there. Any questions or comments there? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this agreement?
I make a motion to approve an agreement for auditing services with McGrath and Company.
We have a motion. Ms. Kim, will you give us a second?
I'll second.
All right. We got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 4-0. Thank you for being here. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing your work. Agenda item number E, consideration of possible action to approve the agreement for auditing services with Belt Harris Pachesik LLP. Any questions or comments, board members?
One question on that one, Rosie. We put that one on here as you were going to follow up and see if they had an engagement letter for y'all to engage. And then if not, we could put it on the next one, but I wasn't sure what the outcome of that was.
We are still going back and forth whether we need a separate audit for SMDA because it's so small and we haven't had that much activity, or just included with the city. As soon as I get confirmation with him, I told him we needed one, according to the last one, and I forward your comments to him, so I'm waiting for him to send me the letter now.
So do we need a motion to postpone to the next?
And they're no longer called that name.
Oh.
They're now Crow LLP,
Crow, like CROW?
O-W-E,
Like, Crow. Okay.
with an E at the end.
Oh, with an okay.
Yeah.
So then we,
Sorry, I have kids. I had to make the bird sound. Couldn't help it.
I understand. I did the same thing.
So I think at this point, it's probably best to just postpone. That way, if we
Yes.
need the agreement, we'll know at the next meeting, but then also the name can be properly reflected. Okay. So what I'll do, board members, is I'll make a motion to postpone. Do I have a second?
second.
We have a second from Nicole. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion to postpone passes unanimously 4-0. We now have agenda item number F, consideration and possible action to approve the meeting minutes to date, and I will make a motion to, any comments on the minutes? All good? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Aye. I mean, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 4-0, and I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll definitely second that.
Thank you, Rosie. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion to adjourn passes unanimously 4-0. Thank you, everyone, and have a safe drive home.